1 second. I almost was a little late, but I'm not actually late. I'm just still getting set up here, though. So let me get my phone dialed in here. That can go up there. I'll go ahead and knock out this disclaimer, though, because we can't just be too careful, can we? I'm not a medical professional. Nothing I say is intended as health advice. Any major changes you make to your diet or any other aspects of your lifestyle, something you should check with a doctor before enacting in your own life. Also, not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is a recommendation for an investment. And I'm a law-abiding citizen. Nothing I say is an admission of guilt. Anything I say that is illegal anywhere in the world is simply something I added for entertainment value. And there's no way rooted in reality. That being said, welcome everybody. We already got 5 people here. That's good. Thank you guys. I'm so happy to have you. The process is starting to pick up. The official count, not the unofficial count. The unofficial count's at like 3150, almost. But the official counts, we're still about 79 hours off. So we'll see what's up. I'm gonna do this other stream on Friday, and we'll kick back and see what happens. Maybe something will go on. But welcome Franquita, Melindy, Marie. What's going on? What's happening? What do you guys want to talk about? And my hair is just not doing it today. Looks like this might be time for a little oil and whatnot. Get this hair back under control. I'm doing all right, you know. I really want this whole storage thing and everything to be done, but I just don't know. It's so hard for me to like break away from the beach. I'm like here in nature, the weather's good, everything's beautiful, the dogs, you know, gets to go out. It's nice, but if I literally drive 30 minutes to my storage, it's not just the doing the storage thing that's a pain in the ass, it's just that it's literally hell. It's 101 degrees there right now, probably. And with no fresh air and smog, and it's in the ghetto, and it's just like, I want it to be done, but I don't. It's like when I try to do the logic and reasoning aspect of it, you say, just get it over with. There's another part of me that just doesn't want to be in that environment for days on end. So the month's already over. I might just ride out August and hope that September brings some type of relief to the valley. But I don't know. It is what it is. I know that sounds very undisciplined and whatnot, but we all have our progress to make. And I guess I'm not quite to the discipline level of spending time in the valley in August. Susan, welcome. I'm glad you made it this time. Joe Lucas, thank you for the compliment. Always happy to have you here. You've been a great new regular. Yeah, 39. It might even be high. It might even get higher than that. It is warm, and it's you know, and the heat's not that bad you're in a nice setting or whatever, but you know, to be in a fucking storage locker, it's just not appealing. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna have to get done. It's gonna have to get done. I just don't know if it'll get done until September. But I'm trying to talk myself into it. I might end up doing that. I need to do some promos and stuff as well. But how are you guys doing? What do you guys want to talk about today? Does anyone have any questions or any topics that you'd like to discuss? 78 there. Where are you? Oh yeah, you're in Iowa, right, Joe? Yeah, it's sat for a long time, and it can sit a little bit more. It's just that you know, a lot of that stuff honestly has stayed in storage ever since when I packed up my stuff in like 2000. Let's see, I started in the business in 2010. It's probably like 2014 or 2013 maybe when I first packed up. It's actually a good story. If no one's got any questions, I'll just go ahead and go into that. The first big pack up. You know, I was living in LA, and am I dry passing right now? I am not. I should have been doing it today because yesterday was like, I'll spare the details, but yesterday would have been a great time to start that. But I decided to stretch it out for one more day because I have this really, really annoying thing. It's so annoying, and I tell myself all the time to get past this. And I know I skipped off of the story, and now I'm just going into answering the question. So I'll come back to the story, but I have this weird thing with numbers. I don't like to start anything at the last day of the month. It would literally drive me fucking crazy. So I rationalized my annoyance with yesterday being the perfect day physically to start, but numerically annoying me. And I ate some avocados and hummus. So so I didn't start yet, but I'm hoping maybe tomorrow will be the day. If we could have another day today like yesterday, it would be even better. Good morning, Millie. Thank you for making it. Yeah, we're doing good. There's a good amount of people here. Okay, so back to the other story. Was living in LA. And then there was a big industry shutdown because this dude in the industry faked a test, and he faked a test a bunch of times, and he like spread around a contagion around the industry, and so they shut down the whole industry for like 6 weeks or something to retest everybody. And this is when I started playing poker. I learned how to play poker at this point. Well, I had already known how to play poker, but I moved to Vegas. I started experimenting with gambling. And one day, while my girlfriend at the time was doing her hair, I was like, oh, I'm going to go gamble for a little while she's doing her hair. And anyways, I was up like 500 on roulette and doing the fucking martingale. which is a really stupid strategy. And I remember her being like, calling me and being like, hey, I'm done. I was like, well, I'm up 500, come on down and we'll leave when you get here. By the time that she got there, I went from being up 500 to being down 3,500. In the time it took her to walk from the hotel room to the roulette table. And so this was early days in the Vegas thing, when I still thought that was a big loss. And so I decided I was never I wasn't going to gamble anymore. I was, oh, this isn't for me. I'm not gambling. So we're still staying in Vegas. We're in the, kind of process of moving to Vegas. But we're staying at the Palms. And so she was dancing, and that's like a thing that she would start at like 10 at night, and then it was over at 3, 4 in the morning, right? And so I was bored. I had nothing to do all night, and so sadly, instead of gambling, I started drinking. Not like excessively, but just lightweight to get through the evenings of being in Vegas, right? And in Vegas, it's a lot cheaper to gamble and get free drinks than it was to actually pay for the drinks. So I rationalized that that I should at least gamble a little bit if I'm going to drink. So I put $40 in the video poker at the bar, and I ended up, I'm having some beers or whatever. I ended up winning like $80, right? So now I got $120 instead of $40. So I'm like, yeah, this ain't bad. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go wander around and see what the slot machines are all about. And by the way, welcome, Melanie. Good to see you. So I go over to the slot machine. I see this big fishing game. It's got this like big screen with fish swimming around on it. And so I sit down. There's like this chick sitting there playing the machine too. I'm just kind of like chatting with her and doing fishing slot machine. Well, next thing I know, I'm like pulling in a marlin, and the screen's all big. It's a huge screen, right? People are all watching. The marlin's coming in. It was only worth $100. It was a $100 marlin. But I ended up pulling in 4 marlins in a row. So next thing I know, I got like this big group of people like standing around me. So I pulled in 4 $100 marlins over the course of, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. And the machine's going all crazy, so it attracts people. They think it's a bigger jackpot than it really is. And anyways, I cash out my ticket for slightly under $500, and I'm walking back to my room. Well, I walked past the poker room. At the time, Palms had a nice poker room. It was in the sports book. And I'm like, whoa, what's the buy-in over there? And they were like, oh, it's 100 to 500. And I had just slightly under 500. So I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll play some poker. So I sat down and played some poker. I ended up winning another $271. That's how well I remember it, down to the $1. So I'm feeling pretty good. I started with $40, and I'm now at over $700. And so my girlfriend gets off. I go pick her up. We go back. I tell her what happened. She's like super happy about it. She's like, I thought maybe she'd be mad because I gambled after I said I wasn't going to gamble anymore. But she was like, oh, you should go do that again. So the next night, I take $500 out of that, and I go back down, and I win like $700 and something. So it's like, it's rolling. And that kept up this is, keep in mind, this is just 1-3, which is like really low stakes poker. And in 3 weeks, I had turned that $40 into $11,800. And I went and bought a used BMW. So that was my introduction to Vegas. I'm trying to remember, why did I start telling that story to begin with? What was the original question? Sorry guys, I'm trying to remember what the hell I was talking about. Wait a second, Joe. I just read your comment. That's interesting. I don't know what the hell I was talking about, you guys. Why was I talking about? Do you guys remember why I was talking about that? What prompted me to say that? Oh yeah, the storage in Vegas. So anyways, long story short, we ended up moving to Vegas because I was making money playing poker and she was doing good dancing, and we were just having a big cash party where every night we'd come home and just dump our cash out and be like, you know, feeling some kind of way. So we ended up getting a place in Vegas. That lasts for, I don't know, a year and a half or something. I kept my apartment in LA for a while. That girl ended up getting schizophrenia randomly. And so after taking her to literally 5 different mental institutions, because they would usually only keep her for about, you know, a week or 2 at the most, she eventually disappeared. And so I was stuck with 2 apartments instead of 1 apartment. And so anyways, I did that for a while, going back and forth from LA to Vegas. And then I had the grand idea to release both my apartments, including my rent control apartment in LA, across the street from the Westfield Mall, and getting a big penthouse in South Vegas. So I got this big penthouse that I called the bowling alley, because it was all wood floors and it was so big it looked like a bowling alley. I was like, you could literally bowl in here. Like, if like, we'd fuck up the walls, but you know, it's plenty of room for bowling. We could put about 6 lanes in here. And so I did that. Well, at some point, well, that place, just a lot went wrong there, but I had a friend stay with me for a little while, and he put down these carpets. He had 2 dogs. He put down these carpets, and one of the dogs used to be my dog, so I was like, I felt obligated to help him out. So I let him come live in my living room for a little while. And he put down carpets to protect the floors from the dog's nails. Well, he also, you know, the dogs were pissing on the carpets apparently as well. And one day he just disappeared and took all his stuff with him except for the carpets. I pulled the carpets up and they were like bleach stains underneath the carpets on my fucking hardwood floors, right? So it's whatever, you know. That was like the first downfall of that apartment. But then I ended up taking a big loss in Vegas one day. And I was like so pissed off at Vegas, and I was just like, you know what? I need to take a break from this. So I pack up, I book a couple scenes for, I don't know, Bang Bros, Reality Kings or something in Florida. Just in 2 different weeks. So I was gonna go do 2 scenes, stay for 2 weeks, the 2 scenes would pay for the trip, and I was gonna go do a little Florida time, right? And so I go to Florida. I'm running late to the airport. I'm actually in LA when I go to the airport, and I am running so late that I have to valet my car. So I valet the car at the Burbank airport, and I go to Florida. Well, I ended up doing 27. I ended up staying for 29 days in Florida. I did 27 scenes during those 29 days, even though I'd only booked 2 scenes. And I also picked up 2 production gigs. So it was like, at the time, for the adult stuff, it was like I basically like found a new peak. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I come back from my trip feeling great, and things start to unravel at that point. So I get to the airport, and I go to pick up my car, and it's a $690 bill for my parking bill. So I'm like, okay, well, that's lame, but luckily I had just made a lot of money, so that was like, I lost, less than a day on that, so I wasn't crying too hard yet. So I drive all the way to Vegas from the Burbank airport, and I pull into my garage, and immediately upon pulling in my garage, I noticed that my other vehicle is missing. My van. I had a cargo van that I kept all my like lighting equipment, and I had some like excess furniture, and it was kind of like my little storage space slash well, mainly just a storage space, but I kept all my like, my camera gear and stuff in there too, aside from the camera itself, like all the stands and the lights and the bigger things. So my van's gone. So I'm like, okay, well, great. Someone stole my fucking van. I'm thinking, that they just wanted the shit. The van wasn't worth that much, wasn't the kind of thing that you would expect anyone to steal. It was bright blue. And not worth particularly much. But I was thinking, oh, it'd be way easier for them to steal the whole van than to steal the things inside the van. So that's what I thought happened. So I go to the complex. I'm like, hey, someone stole my van. They're like, okay, 1 second, what space, blah, blah. And anyways, long story short, they're like, we towed it. Like, you towed my van out of my own parking spot? I was like, why in the world would you do that? They're like, oh, it was leaking oil. We put a notice on the van, and you didn't respond, so we towed it because it was staining the concrete. I was like, you towed my van because it was leaking oil in the garage? I was like, you guys just called me 2 weeks ago to ask if you could throw away the king-size mattress that I was going to donate that I had leaned up in the space, in my other parking space, because I had this mattress I was going to donate, but I just didn't get around to doing it because it was king-size. It was a pain in the ass to move, right? So I'm like, you guys can call me and ask about the fucking mattress that I was literally throwing away, but you can't call me and ask me about the van, blah blah blah. Anyways, I recorded the whole thing. Long story short, I think that they had I don't know, there was some kind of error on their behalf, and that they like did try to contact me, but they contacted someone else instead of me. Like, they contacted the wrong person. And so anyways, I'm basically like, at this point, between the floors and the van and everything else, I'm like, this place is a fucking curse. So I tell him, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna break my lease, and I'm never gonna hear anything from you guys about it. I was like, if I do ever hear anything from you about it, I'm gonna fucking Yelp this place into a fucking third world country, and it probably won't stop there. You know what I mean? And so I went back to my apartment. I called movers, stayed up all night, packing shit up, and the movers came, and I literally crammed everything from my 1,900 square foot fully furnished apartment into a 10 by 10 by 10 storage space. And they were like, do you want us to like pad all this stuff? I was like, just get it out of here, get it in the fucking space. So they take everything out. I fucking unplug the refrigerator. Keep in mind, this is a refrigerator that's like 12 feet tall and like matches the cabinet, so you can't tell where it is. I left a 10-pound turkey in there and threw the keys into the desert. This is very vindictive. I'm not proud of that, but I did do that. And then all my stuff literally stayed in storage for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And then even when I took everything out of there, it just went into like a different storage. So it's like crazy because this whole storage thing is like, it's just a non-stop repeating thing. It's one of those things like you will repeat the lesson in your life over and over and over again until you get the lesson. And it's like, I learned that lesson, but yet here I am with 3 storages. Don't know how I could possibly, you know, have missed that one, but nonetheless, it was missed. And so, at some point, I guess I gotta fucking do it, because I've definitely, like, whatever value that I'm gonna recover from literally everything I've ever bought in my life that's left is going to, I would be surprised if it covered all the many, many, many years of storage bills. Like, I'm almost possibly sure that I will not get back all the money that I spent on storage. So it's just I don't know how valuable I'm gonna feel for sure amazing when it's done. You know what I mean? Like, you know, after that, it'll just be a matter of, you know, leaving this country behind. But yeah, I hope that there's a lesson there for everybody. Consider that a fable of some sort. You know, you can call it a big edition of don't do what Bruce did. Anyways, welcome Ivan. And Joe, did you say that you were in the adult business at some point as well? You were a performer? Joe said, when I was doing adult films, I never really thought of it as genuine. I put on a character. I think most of us do it that way. Yeah, I mean, I would agree too. Like, you know, everybody kind of had me, you know, I kind of had that bad boy look, and I definitely was around. I absorbed a lot of, you know, different lingos through my travels and experiences in life, and so it was pretty easy for me to kind of play that part. And so I definitely feel that same thing happened to me, that I just ended up kind of playing that, getting stuck with that role because I played it well. And you know, a lot of people think that that's real. Like, there's a lot of like fans, you know, like girls or whatever that I met up with, and I always thought it was interesting because they would tell me this, but yet they met me anyways. But they always would say that they thought that I was going to be an asshole. Like, they were expecting a total douchebag, like just like next level tool. But they were willing to accept it as long as they got, you know, what they were coming for. Which is an interesting, I don't know, something there to be learned. But they were always so surprised when I was both a nice guy and they still got what they came for. Let's see, I'm gonna go back and read the chat because, let's see. Yeah, it's gnarly. You know, at least it's air conditioned inside the storage unit of the ones that are in LA. It's really the Vegas one that is the scary one because there's zero air conditioning. And you know, Vegas is like probably more like 44, 45 right now. So that's kind of scary too. Let's see. Let's see. Second one says, I always have to disassociate like crazy when I have a job I don't like. I pretend that I'm on some kind of spy mission. That's funny. I also feel like I'm on a, like, maybe not just, this is maybe an interesting thing. And by the way, welcome, Second Wind. I feel that I'm always on a spy mission as well. So I totally get it. I don't just feel it when I'm doing something I don't want to do. I feel it like all the time now because I'm just like, I look like this and I'm still going around and, kind of doing whatever I would normally do. It's always really confusing to people when I show up in places that I don't look like I belong. But it doesn't stop me. I always just feel like I'm going behind the lines, you know what I mean? Good morning, everybody. Let's see. I'm still holding down. Let's see. We started with the storage thing. Yep, caught that. Rolled into the Vegas story. Yeah, okay, so we got that. So we got that whole thing. Let's see. Oh, I didn't finish the story actually, now that I think about it. But that's when I first went to I had also a flight to my first flight to Europe was also already booked at the time when I decided to pack up the house or pack up the penthouse. So it was also on the 4th of July, I think in like 2013 or 2014. I packed up and I had only a few days left before, I packed up and then I got on a plane to Ibiza. And then I was in Ibiza for like a few weeks, shooting for Wow Girls, which is like a Russian company. And it was a really crazy experience as well because they would rent these like huge villas, like we're talking 10, 12 bedrooms, like big mansions, like in the hills in Ibiza, and like really, really nice locations. And they were trying to get their money's worth out of it. So it was my, normally like I would be used to doing, maybe a few times I would do 2 scenes in a day. It was like a rare thing, in LA. Usually it would just be the one. But in Ibiza, my schedule was no days off. I would do 1 scene one day and 2 scenes the next day. And every day would be alternate between 1 and 2 scenes. So it was like I showed up in Europe and it was just like totally different situation. But it was cool because they would like, they have like a private chef that would come and cook for us at night. And it was like they knew that I needed calories. So it would be like they would just like feed me like crazy. It was like they'd be, eat more, Bruce. Eat more. We need you strong. So yeah, there was that. And then, I went and did that's how I went to Budapest from there. At some point I went back to Ibiza, worked for them again. That's when I got robbed in the middle of the night and I lost my passport and everything. Then I actually managed to fly from Ibiza to Budapest, get this, with no passport. I somehow got on the plane with no passport. And then, yeah, I got to apply for a new passport in Budapest. While explaining to them that I lost my passport, it got stolen in Spain, and that was a really interesting experience as well. And I still have that passport to this day. It's got a stamp in the back that says replacement for a stolen passport. So so yeah, that was, but yeah, it's gonna feel good when all the storages are gone, because it'll be the first time in a long time since then, actually. And I mean, even then I still had a storage, but it was just like $100 a month or whatever. That I really will be fully free to just non-stop travel as I wish. But yeah, just to go back into the story though, is that after that trip, I ended up doing the whole 3-month Schengen visa, and then I came back and moved to Florida, and that's when I started doing the whole Reality Kings thing. So that's the whole story. And it looks like we're on a non-spiritual line of questioning today, so I guess we'll just keep it on a casual stream today, and we'll aim for a more spiritual topic on Friday, because I don't really want to put this specific topic on the spiritual playlist, which I don't know, maybe it's okay, maybe it's, I mean, it adds to the story of how everything unfolded, but you know. Feel so much better and free instead of gone. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Joe Lucas says, back when I lived in San Diego, I'm not proud of what I did. Okay. I gotcha. I'll read between the lines. I know what they do in San Diego. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying. See, Franquita says, is there one piece that you keep and have always with you? You don't need to tell what it is if you don't want to, just if you do. My most valuable possession, personally, I'll just say, like, I'm not afraid to say it, is the book I wrote in prison. I have a handwritten novel. It's literally handwriting, and you can watch my handwriting like develop from page 1 throughout the whole thing, and like, you know, in the beginning it's like a child's handwriting, and then by the end it's like very unique script with 3 times as many words on a page. It took me 2 years to write it. And I probably will publish it one day, now that it's so much easier to you know, spell check things with AI and stuff. But I think that the actual original as like an art piece or like a collector's piece is like super interesting, because I started writing it when I was in Santa Rita County Jail, which is the county jail for Oakland, California. If anyone knows where Oakland, California is, it's where Kamala Harris is from, which is like, I think you would be better off. You would make it farther probably walking through like Papua New Guinea right now, than you would through Oakland. Like, I imagine it's probably the worst place in the entire country. And it wasn't much better back then. So I started writing it there in maximum security. And I carried it with me through San Quentin, West Block, and Badger section, and paroled with it from Pelican Bay. So, you know, and you can tell that like the pages are yellowing, like you can see the smear marks from my hand, you know. I literally wrote it with a pen filler. A fucking pen filler. Not a pen, but the actual like little ink cartridge that goes inside of a pen, because they wouldn't give us a whole pen. They just give you like the little thing that goes inside, the little flimsy like stick. I literally wrote it with that. You know, you'd have to like wrap it in paper to like stiffen it up a bit. So that's like the one thing. Oh, and I also have another book that I wrote that's locked in a safe, which I don't have the code for, that I have to cut it out. I have to cut it out. So, which that's also a really cool piece. It's got some writing, poetry, and also some art is in the inside as well. So, Joe Lucas says, a lot of guys I've been with who knew my work thought I was like a total slut for being humiliated and stuff. What happens on set honestly means nothing to me. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We all have our moments. You know what I mean? Like I did a lot of scenes, you know, nothing like that specifically, but like there's definitely things I would not do again, and that I definitely regret. You know, some of these scenarios that they, you know, had us do. And when you've already done like a bunch of crazy scenarios or a bunch of stupid fucking scenarios, it doesn't really strike you that bizarre when they hit you with something, you know, that maybe I in retrospectively wouldn't have wanted to do. But you know, you just kind of think it's going to be lost in the sea of stuff. Like, who watches the scenarios anyways, right? Until the DVD comes out and they put you on the fucking box cover, and then your soul just like evaporates from your body. You're like, oh. Like, well, I guess there's no point. There's no turning back now, right? No. Ivan says, are you still trying to go to India? I am trying to go to India. It's just with the dog thing is so complicated. Like, if I didn't have the dog, which is not even like a realistic if, like the dog's here, he's not going anywhere, but if I didn't have the dog, I would just jump on a fucking Air India flight for $300 and I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, it might take me 30 something hours to get there, but it'd be fairly easy to do that. And obviously, just my car payment alone is enough to live in India probably. So so it's complicated, because it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's complicated because my little buddy can't be left anywhere. The other thing is that I'm concerned about is that they don't allow for American bulldogs or pit bulls. Now, Sam is not an American bulldog or a pit bull. He's an American bully. But I don't know how that's going to go over with me explaining that to an Indian immigration officer. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know how it is in India, but like, I know if I was, for example, encountering that situation in like Eastern Europe or somewhere in Central America or South America, that there would be, I would have a lot of faith in my ability to negotiate entry for him. I imagine that it's the same in India, but I'm not totally sure about that. But for that reason, and also because Sam just can't be on a flight for more than 7 or 8 hours, the getting to India thing is super complicated with the dog. So my two possible routes is obviously east or west. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm in California at the moment, so that means that I either go from here to Hawaii and from Hawaii to Tokyo or Japan, and then from Japan I can kind of do little shorter jumps to India eventually. I probably would enter India through Sri Lanka after doing some research, because Sri Lanka doesn't have any breed bans and I want to see it anyways. And you know, if they end up having issues getting Sam in, I want to be able to like just be like, okay, I'll just go back where I came from. Just ship me back to Sri Lanka. It's close, or possibly look into taking a boat or something. But I want to see like other spots in Asia too. Like I want to, I want to see them all. I don't want to really skip over anything. So, obviously the dog is really just the deciding factor, because, yeah, I don't want anything to happen to the dog. I'm not really worried about myself so much. Let's see. Where would I go if I were to move from the USA? Oh, well, see, I'll finish what I was saying now. So that's one option. And then the other option is obviously to go the other way. Now, I have a lot of ties in Europe. I would say I probably have more friends in Europe than I have in the States, by far. And so I wouldn't probably, I'd say definitely. So, the only thing is that Europe is pretty expensive, on the western portion of it. And so means that funds are kind of like my big hold up with the whole thing to begin with, of reason why I'm still here, because obviously it's, this is an expensive place as well. That I don't know if that's, it would take something pretty substantial to open up the Europe possibility on the way to Asia or to India. But I would also like to do that as well, just because I want to see some of my friends. There's just a lot of reasons why I would like to do that as well. And I'm just very, and I also too, I worry a lot less about the dog there, because it's pretty dog friendly, and I just don't have any experience with Asia to know what it's going to be like with the dog. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. So I don't really care where I'm trying to go. I'm also like considering to drive the Pan American Highway down to South America, because I'm here and I wanted to do that for a long time, and I don't think I'm going to get another chance to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like once I leave, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm not trying to come back. So, yeah, it's just the whole thing is very in the air, but it's like, I'm just trying to kind of, I don't have a lot of luxury of options right now. So I know what the possibilities are, and I'm just kind of waiting to see which possibility gets activated first. You know what I'm saying? Because with the Europe thing also too, remember I got to travel across the whole United States first as well. So it adds like an extra leg to the portion, because I got to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, from the East Coast to, probably enter in the UK, from the UK into Europe, it's just like a many more stops versus Hawaii, Tokyo. But the problem with Hawaii is they have a quarantine for dogs, even if they're coming from the States. So Hawaii is also insanely expensive, and then I have to like stay there and wait for the dog to get out of quarantine. So the whole thing's very complicated, and most likely As much as like my ideal situation is to get to Asia, or even Europe for that matter, anywhere else. My most likely situation is going to be Mexico, and eventually the farther south. So that's most likely what's going to end up happening, is that I'm just going to end up going to Mexico. But but we'll see. You never know. Like with me, it's hard to really say what's going to happen because I'm not like really being super aggressive about changing my financial situation right now. But I could, because I'm really good at that. Like I am an aggressive hustler if I need to be. But I am, obviously following this whole spiritual path, and I don't really see that kind of thought process and being worried about that as like a spiritual thing. Like I feel more like motivated by putting faith into the universe and not trying to manipulate it from my own standpoint in my little mortal body, when I know that there's something so much more powerful than me, that has so much more insight and is constantly connected to all things on the earth, that is absolutely pulling the strings from another dimension. Like, just fucking seems like the better way. You know what I mean? Like, let's just see what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm obviously over here overthinking, like, because I've thought of every conceivable thing. Not to mention that I also left out the whole drive the lower 48 thing, because same with South America, is I'm not going to have another chance probably to overland in the Americas. So it's like, if I really wanted to like be as well-rounded of a traveler as possible, I would, drive the lower 48, check out all the states, and then bomb south. The only thing that turns me off to that idea is just the wear and tear on the vehicle. I would hate to, beat this thing to death. And then be in a situation where me and the dog are actually on foot. So, because that could get weird quick. And if that got that weird quick, it definitely is a situation where the storages need to be already liquidated and gone, so that I have real low responsibilities and shit to worry about if that ever happens, which it could happen, because the bulk of my work that I've done lately has all been on YouTube, and this has not been a very lucrative endeavor yet. I'm hoping that someday that this turns around at least enough to survive in India, but yeah, that's the situation. So, one second. He says, you seem very passionate while in scenes. In the vids, you were very rough, like the one girl, Bonnie, laugh out loud. I felt bad for her. Oh, don't feel bad for Bonnie. Let me tell you, okay, the only there's two situations where you've probably seen me be rough, okay? And one of those situations, it was totally fake. And that's when, like, the producer wanted it to be like that. But in cases like Bonnie, Bonnie basically requires that. If you want Bonnie to be happy, you had to go into beast mode, to please Bonnie. So definitely you don't have to feel bad for her. In that situation, I will tell you that she loved every moment of that, and so much that she needed it again every time in the shower afterwards. How long was I on parole after prison? 3 years. My parole officer tried to get me off early twice, and they turned it down every time. I had to do the whole 3 years. Can you ask what the book is about? What the book is about, get this. It's a little prophetic. It's like a fantasy fiction, right? So, I used to read these like fantasy books all the time, you know, Lord of the Rings and all that stuff when I was in there. Even like way lesser known stuff than the Lord of the Rings, you know, like Dragonlance series, if anyone's that nerdy. You know, the Rift War saga, the Sword of Truth series, the Song of Fire and Ice, Wheel of Time, like all those big like epic series were like my thing. I read them all. You know, I read the Game of Thrones. I finished the 3rd book before they ever wrote the Feast of Crows. Like, I was waiting for the Feast of Crows, the book, to come out because I'd already read the first 3 books. This is before they ever even considered to make a movie at all. So I was really into those, but the Game of Thrones actually was really inspiring to me. There was 2 books that were super inspiring to me to write. And it was the Game of Thrones and also the Dark Tower series from Stephen King, which I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King anymore, but the Dark Tower series was really good. And so the reason why I liked those books was because they were fantasy, but they didn't hold back. They weren't like watered down, all Disney-ified and whatever, you know what I mean? Like they, you know, like there was all the bad things in those books. Even though it was the fantasy genre, so it was really good. So I was inspired to make a more hardcore fantasy fiction series. So this was the first book in the series, and basically, long story short, so there was 3 main characters, but I think that I was gonna drop one of the characters out. They were eventually gonna, you know, form like a little band or whatever, but there's a female character that escapes an abusive household on a pirate ship, and then the main character is the grandson of this monk, you know, from this group of, you know, people that live out in the mountains, and they're totally detached from everybody, and all they do is train for the last war all day, every day. But their city was like a relic city that they took over in some ancient times. No one knows who originally built it. And, you know, for whatever reason, it was built on a piece of land where there was no magic. And these people who were like the baddest ass fighters of all of the lands, right? They were one of the only people who were completely devoid of magic. Like they couldn't touch the source at all. I called it the source even then. They couldn't touch the source because they were like fallen gods, and it was their punishment to be completely detached from the source. And so they took over this city that was built called it a dead spot. There's no magic there. So that way, you know, them being badass fighters and their city being in an area where there's no magic, you know, people couldn't come and try to take them over with anything but physical force, which nobody was going to be able to do because they're that badass, right? So the other thing about those people is that they couldn't mix with other, like they could breed with regular humans, but their children were like kind of like mules. Like they couldn't, their children would never have children. So there's a, there's a limited amount of them, and they're always like dwindling. Every time one of them dies, it's like a big deal, right? And so there's not supposed to be, basically it should be impossible for anyone to be more than like a half-breed. Through whatever things happen, someone who is born of one of the guy's daughter, who should have been sterile. And this is kind of like he's like supposed to be like a Dune type character, like the guy from the Dune, you know what I mean? But he doesn't know, because he's been living in a dead spot his whole life. So he finally leaves the city for the first time, and then shit starts happening. He starts realizing, he doesn't know that he's accessing the source or whatever, but nonetheless, the source gets accessed. And so it's kind of like his whole story mainly, and also the escape of, the woman that he will someday meet. And then there was a third character that was like a little kleptomaniac, scam artist guy. But I think I'm going to take him out of the book, because it's just, or turn him into a completely different book, like unrelated to the other two. Just because it's just like, I was, at the time when I was doing it, I was like inspired by the Game of Thrones, so I liked how they skipped to, like, did the character, every different chapter was like skipped to a different character's point of view. And so I really liked that, so I wanted to do the same thing. But then the guy and the girl's parts were just so much longer and more like in detailed that I decided that it would be best just to like keep them together in one book, and to turn the other guy into a character for a different book. Ticket Win says, oh, you were in San Quentin, that's awesome. I'm studying people who were sent there. Fascinating stories, so neat to hear about. Yeah, like there's this one time when like they took all the white people out of West Block and rounded us up on the East Block yard, which is where they have all the death row inmates. And it was in July, and it was like 106 degrees on concrete, and there's like no shade. And they left us out there from like sun up to sundown until everybody was like cooked. And like, this is the first time I got a sunburn in my entire life, and I literally like peeled all my skin off in like almost like one piece, like a snake. That's pretty crazy. So there's a San Quentin story for you. Your handwriting is actually interesting. It's a safe for work picture. You're fully closed. Hey, just looked it up. Sam would be allowed to come to Germany. Oh, awesome. Yeah, Germany is supposed to be, I think I knew that. Like, Germany is supposed to be like very dog friendly, I think. Ivan retracted the message. Brenda, welcome, Brenda. I'm doing good. Happy Wednesday. Ivan says, back in the day, I had social anxiety with girl, and after I discovered you, I tried to imitate you, and because of you, I overcame my anxiety. That's awesome. I'm so glad. You know what? That means a lot to me, because I have some self-consciousness about, like my reasons for being in the adult business were always personal. Like, it was just personal gratification and an enjoyable way to make money for me, and I didn't become conscious for a long time of whatever effect that I was having on the world through doing that. But and I know there's been some negative effects, but it means a lot, like a lot to hear the positive effects, because it's really hard to like imagine those. It's hard to think of like situations like that And be like, oh, you know, at least I did some good. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I like showed a lot of love, and you know, there were some good things like in that regard, but you know, it's hard to think of it in the microcosm. Swag retracted. Ivan says, of course, I can't be perfect as you, but you really helped me when I was depressed, so thank you. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much. Susan says, I'd love to read that book. Well, maybe that's my big thing. Maybe I need to just do that. Was Richard Ramirez there when I was in San Quentin? I was there in 2007, so I don't really know. I seen, when I was there, though, I seen Scott Peterson there, which was like a pretty high-profile case when I was there. They did the whole thing, too, like, you know, when they walked him past, they made us all stop, face the wall, and then they yelled, "Dead man walking," and they walked him past everybody, like, behind them. You're not supposed to look at them, but I looked at them. Frankita says, who's my first crush, like when I was a child or teen? There was a girl, my first crush, my very, very first crush was actually probably kind of saved me. Yeah, that's a real thing. My first crush ever was a girl named Amy Zan. Z-H-A-N. It was in like the second grade or something. And I remember we used to always go and hide behind like one of the portables at the school while everyone else is in recess, and we would talk about like what kind of animals we would like to be and stuff like that. I don't know. We used to always just like hang out behind this building and talk. And I remember when they tried to put me into the GATE program, if anyone knows what that is. It's for like gifted children or whatever, but you know, a lot of people think that it's some kind of MK Ultra government program or something. But like the one that they tried to put me in was literally like I was supposed to leave my public school and go to the Lawrence Livermore lab for school. And that was literally starting in the third grade. And the Lawrence Livermore lab is like where they build all of our, like, it's like our main nuclear research facility in the United States. So anyways, I threw a huge fit when I found out that I was going to get sent to a different school, and you know, my motivation for my tears was that I was going to have to leave my girlfriend Amy. And so yeah, that was like my first crush, or first, I don't know. Yeah, first crush, I guess. Kathy B says, Bruce, have you ever experienced jealousy or competition aimed at you from other male performers? Yes. I won't like call any of it out directly. The worst of the worst, I'm actually cool with now. But there's been a lot of that for sure. What are my hobbies? Mainly just chess, I guess. If that'd probably, you know, everything else is more like a spiritual practice that I do in some way. But I would say the only thing that's completely like a hobby, like a useless thing that I do, is play chess. Which, by the way, I just today hit my all-time peak puzzles score both yesterday, and I topped it again today. I think I'm at like 3618. My puzzle score. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and brag right now since we're talking about my hobbies. Let's see what I'm doing on chess.com. I'm into the puzzles thing. I'm not really that great at chess, but I'm good at the puzzles. What do I got here? Yeah, I'm at 2631 rating in chess puzzles on chess.com. Oh, it's 11:11. Make a wish, you guys. Let's see, one second. My all-time highest puzzle. My all-time best puzzle solved was a 3779, which I do believe is the hardest puzzle on the whole thing. Like, I'm pretty sure that my puzzle level is right there with the grandmasters of grandmasters. So yeah, that's my hobby. Yeah, Livermore Lab. Yeah, where they discovered the Livermorium. Yes, exactly. They tried to make me go to school there when I was in the 3rd grade. Where can you purchase my book? That's a good question. I need to, it's actually been typed, so it shouldn't be too hard to plug it into an AI to fix the grammar or whatever. Which I think my grammar is actually pretty good. It shouldn't be too bad, but I was just planning on, I think it'd be cool definitely to like make some actual like hardbacks and stuff, but I probably would just sell it on like Apple Books or Amazon Books. You know what I mean? What is my ethnicity? Half American or half what are pure Americans? Is American like an ethnicity? I don't think it is. I mean, Native American? I'm not Native American. I actually thought that I was for a long time, but the DNA disproved that. Sam, I never got a DNA test, but my sister did. What do you want? Oh, you want water? But I am Scottish, German, and Scandinavian is my ethnicity. So, you can actually, one side, sorry guys, froze for a second. My father is Scandinavian and German. One side originated in Germany. On the other side, you can see clearly was like it started in Sweden and it moved into Norway, and then down into Scotland, and picked up a little some other things there. So it's like an obvious Viking history on that side. And then don't really know as much about my mother's side, but I know that she's mostly Scottish because I don't know for 100% sure, but just based upon my sister's DNA test, my sister is 30-something% Scottish, which was her larger amount, and my father's like least amount was Scottish. So I know that she must have picked up a bunch more Scottish from my mom. So there's that. Yeah, exactly. The Kindle Direct Publishing. Yeah, exactly. I would probably just try to put it out on all the like ebook stuff because it probably would only take a day to do it, and you just get to keep a lot more of the revenue. You know what I mean? Like when you publish like a regular book, you usually get like 15% of sales domestically and like 5% internationally, which is obviously extremely low. But with ebooks, I think you usually get more like 50 to 70%. So second win is 89% German. Yeah, that's a lot. What do you want, dude? Please stop. Sorry, guys. They reset my Wi-Fi or something. So I lost connection for a second. But I have one blood sister, 4 stepsisters. So yeah, no brothers, no blood brothers. I have brothers from other mothers. That's about it. Is everyone still here, or am I like living in the moment of before it crashes down because of the connection loss? Joe says, for example, according to my heritage, 70% Scandinavian, 18% Irish, Scottish, and Welsh, 5% Iberian, and 5% West Asian, 1.6 Mesoamerican. That's interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's wild how it works because it's not like everything is not like mathematically even with like how much DNA gets passed, and that's why there's so much more variation. Like once you start mixing different areas and stuff, it's like you could have just like 5% of something, but your kid could have like way more. You know what I'm saying? Because they might have just gotten, I don't know, I'm probably not explaining that right, but it's like, it's not equal. You know what I'm saying? Like you can like, it's like you don't know which half you're gonna pass on. Like you could be, let's say you're, Irish and German, and you're 50-50. You might just pass on like almost all Irish to your kid, and your kid might have like almost no German. You know what I'm saying? The same thing can happen from the other side as well. So it's like, it's really strange how it works. Every sperm's a little different, you know what I'm saying? Welcome, Jacqueline. Bozoka says, when was the last time I filmed a video? It was on the 5th of the month before last month. So what was this? This July? 5th of June was the last scene that I did. It was with Scarlett Alexis, who I did this last scene before that with, and also who I did the last scene for the coach thing with. But I also did 2 scenes with Kay Lovely. One was a threesome with another girl, and one with Cherry Kiss. So like for having done, and I had also shot with Kay for the coach thing. So basically everything that I did outside of my own production and all that was, girls I got along with, girls that I had already worked with for the coach thing, and then also I had some repeats. So I actually like minimized my exposure pretty well for how much I did in the last whatever year. You know what I mean? Yeah, it isn't an even division. It can get inherited differently. Exactly. And a recessive gene can like pop up and like be like the main thing. Joe Luke says that's what makes genetics so awesome, because it's uneven. Yeah, no, it'd be so predictable otherwise, right? We would all be like superhumans. We'd be like Like, it would change the game for breeding if it was always equal, but since you never really know, it's like, yeah, well, let's hope for the best here. Almost 2 months now. It's a long time for actors. How frequently do you get film projects? Well, I'm retired, and I had also taken like 3 years off or something like that prior to that, like because of the pandemic thing. So yeah, Kenzie, I'm really trying to be nice to you about this because you constantly repeat yourself about the hair thing. Like, please stop. Please stop. Like, much love to you. Like, I know that you've been with me here on these streams for a while, but like, leave me alone about the hair thing. Like, it's I'm not an easily offended person, but I consider that an offensive comment. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm actually bothered by it. It's that it seems like you're trying to bother me with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm actually insulted by it, but it seems like you're trying to insult me with that. And the reason why I think that it's you trying to insult me is because, for me personally, and I've explained this many times, but maybe somebody missed it, and it's not an attack on anyone with short hair, because their beliefs may be different, and it's your belief is what matters. But my belief regarding the hair is that it's an act of submission to cut the hair. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what you do. In my view, that's like an act of, it's an act of submission. All right. I won't go as hardcore as I was going to go about it, but I'll just say, and I'm not a submissive person. You know what I'm saying? And so it's insulting to me to say, cut the hair that you grew for almost 5 years or 4 years now, and that you've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in work because of, and that the reason why you sacrificed those hundreds of thousands of dollars is because you view it as a submissive act and the kind of thing that a slave does. So, me understanding that or knowing that or believing that, again, not anything directed at anyone else's other beliefs, but me having those feelings about it and having made that sacrifice, it's extremely insulting, especially when somebody's repeats it over and over and over again. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like, to me, it's like being like, kneel, get on your knees. Are you ever going to kneel? Are you ever going to bend the knee? Are you ever going to bend it? You sure you don't want to give in? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it sounds like to me. So just chill. Much love. Don't worry about the hair. Bazooka says, thanks for answering my questions. I need to get back to work now. I'm on a 15-minute break. Thank you. Bye. Take care. Oh, well, thank you for joining us for the 15-minute break. Have a great day at work. Do I have any children? I do not have any children to my knowledge, but, I started in the industry. Not to say that I only did it in the industry, but I started having, well, let's just say I was released in 2009. I probably at least once did the thing before the industry. And then during the industry, so I started in 2010, I did it many, 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 many times. I did the thing. Both at work and outside of work. And I've never had any scares, any accusations, or any worries or anything like that. But I will say that I've not kept contact with everyone or ever even talked again to all the women whom I did the thing with that can possibly lead to that. So I don't have any children to my knowledge. I don't think that I have any out there in the world. I don't know if it's even a possibility for me, but I do hope that they find me if they are out there. I do hope that they find me. But like I said, I have relatives on Ancestry and all that stuff. And it's now, what, 2024? So I'm thinking in the next, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I should find out if indeed any exist out there. I'm hoping to find out in the next 5 to 8 years. But I don't think so. I smoked a lot of weed through those years, which I think, and I wore, those like artificial, like nylon style, like boxer briefs, which apparently like dramatically just destroy your sperm count. So, between those two things, I'm thinking maybe like I was like possibly, shooting blanks or something. I don't know. Plus also too, now I've noticed, I don't know, I don't want to go too far for YouTube or do too TMI, but I mean, as far as like volume goes, compared to back when I was in the industry doing that all the time and that I was like super overworked, and like versus now that I've had my like spiritual healing and I don't wear underwear and like things like that, I would say like voluminously wise, I would be a lot, I feel a lot more fertile now. Like by a lot. Like I probably would say that I'm like 10 times more fertile, if indeed fertility is a thing for me. What's up, my bud? Yes. Yeah, I'm not ignoring you. You know you hate it when I talk on the phone. Yeah. Is that my pal? Hey. So. Hey. Stop it. I'm trying to read. Hey. Alright. Get out of here. One second. So I plan on writing an autobiography anytime soon. I do. It's actually kind of a thing. Like, it's like the autobiography is really like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense. Because I used to always say, this is like my famous last words, you know what I'm saying? And I said this for fucking long time. At least 10 years I've been saying this. And I said, and it's because I've been living for the autobiography. So I've been, and most people know this about me, but it's like back in 2007 when I realized that I had a writing skill, and I used to always tell war stories to the other convicts when I was in Pelican Bay, and they loved my stories. And I realized, I was like, wow, like even the craziest, most like hardcore people I've ever met in my life, like thinks that my stories are crazy and hardcore. So I realized, I was like, I have a fucking story already. But it was a sad story. So I thought all I needed was a happy ending, and I thought that happy ending was going to be me getting rich. But the happy ending was actually me realizing unity with God, which is total plot twist. I did not see that coming at all. But I used to always say also too, even like when I retired from the business, and this was true for a long time, because I would notice like it's like I would retire and nobody would realize that I retired because I did so many scenes. I did like 1,000 scenes that people had content stockpiled of me. Not only did they have content stockpiled of me, but most people don't actually pay for content. You know what I mean? Like most people are just watching the free stuff. So you know, even when the stuff comes out, sometimes it doesn't come out for free ever, or maybe not for years onto the free sites, you know? And so, like, I always felt that even when I would quit, like, my fame was still going up for like a long time. It took literally years before people started realizing that I was like retired. And then it took a long time after that before my popularity kind of, you know, went down. And I used to always say, it doesn't really matter. I can go fuck it. When this is all done, you know, this was about the book thing. It's like I was like in the gambling and everything else. My famous last words were, it doesn't really matter, because when this is all done, I can go sit under a bridge and write my life story, and I'm still going to, you know what I'm saying, have more than I ever need. And I hope it doesn't really come to that, but we're working our way there, you know what I mean? And luckily, I still believe that to be true, because all I need is a fucking pen filler. I've already proven that. A pen filler and some paper. And I can still cash in my life savings, which is all experiences. You know what I'm saying? So that was the thing. Oh, here's a good question. Ivan Seneca, what jobs did I do other than movies? Okay, let's go through my fucking career past. Let's do it. My first job, I was probably fucking 12, was a paper route. I used to wake up in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, fold papers, make Bisquick waffles. This is when I started drinking coffee, young. To go do my paper route. And at the peak of my paper route, I think I had 70 something houses on my paper route. And I started off doing it on a skateboard. Which is really awkward, carrying a bunch of newspapers on a skateboard. After that, my next job was at Togo's. It's a sandwich shop. And I fucking hustled the shit out of Togo's. That was like a chaos thing, because Togo's was like, it's like I worked at Togo's, but like all my friends worked at Togo's, but like our managers at Togo's were like some crackheads that didn't give a fuck at all either. So like Togo's was like, it's like a nice sandwich shop in a nice suburban middle class area, but it was like the like crime hotspot of the town. Like it's so fun. You'd have to see it. It's a really nice place. It's like a big, huge sandwich shop. Like the big deck is like in like one of the nicest towns in the Bay Area. And it was like, you know, that was like the place like that you didn't go in town. Because it was just like every underage ruffian in the whole town like worked at Togo's. It was chaos. And then, let's see, I did the Togo's thing. There was a while where I didn't have any kind of legitimate job after the Togo's thing. And then when I was 19, I got in trouble, and I went on the run. And I went and worked at my dad's cabinet shop for like a year and a half or so. I made cabinets. I installed cabinets. I was on like, because my dad owned the shop, so it was like he would have me like apprentice with all the like, you know, the best woodworkers that they had. So I learned a lot about carpentry and stuff like in a short amount of time. plus I had access to the whole huge shop, and I used to always like play in there when I was a kid and stuff, so I'd been around the tools and everything for a long time. Like I smashed my finger in a machine when I was, 6. And then I worked, then I ended up beating, I tried to go into the military. I signed up to be a SEAL. And they weren't gonna, I scored a 92 on the ASVAB, which is like a pretty high score. And apparently there's like another section in the, like the logic and reasoning section, which I had some kind of astronomically high score there as well. So they basically told me I could have any job I wanted in the entire military. That's literally their exact words. Like, you can have any job you want. What do you want to do? You want to be a doctor or something? I was like, no, I want to be a SEAL. Give me a gun. And so I literally had to meet, because I had gotten in trouble as a juvenile. I had to go meet with an admiral, which is like the equivalent to like a general, but for the Navy. And I had to go meet with an admiral to have my juvenile record expunged so that I could get security clearance to be a SEAL. And then I had a case that I was running from that case for like over a year. And the recruiter, after I got my record expunged, the recruiter went with me to court to turn myself in and to ask the judge to release me to their custody, so that I could go into the military. And the judge basically dropped the whole case, except for he said, he gave me a judge's plea bargain, no DA deal. I don't know if anyone knows anything about courts and stuff, but I got a direct from the judge plea bargain that would drop it down to a misdemeanor, no probation, like informal probation, basically like a slap on the wrist. But I wasn't going to be able to, but the one stipulation that he put on was that I couldn't own a firearm for 15 years, which barred me from entering the military. So the judge, and this was like during the, they were doing, I think, the Iraq war or whatever at the time. So the judge literally did that on purpose, because he knew that I was going to go to war to try to get out of trouble. And so he let me out of trouble, but made it so that I couldn't go to war. And then, so after the cabinet shop thing, I went back to my hometown, and of course I got in trouble again. And then I went on the run again, and this time I lived in Stockton, which is really kind of a nasty place. And I worked at a boat haul out. So we would lift boats out of the river and I would paint the bottoms of the boats and fix the fiberglass and things like that. And then after the boat bottoms thing, I eventually got caught, and then I went to prison, and then in prison I got my first job was in the shoe kitchen, and then I ended up having we'll call it a disagreement with one of the free staff that worked there. This is like people that go home that just work at the prison. And they sent me to the shoe, and then I had this is an interesting story. I had this whole interview with this lieutenant, to try to get out. And this woman shows up, and I hadn't seen a woman in fucking years. And she was hot. I remember she had like a little Bacardi bat on the back of her neck. And she was smoking, like this blonde chick, like she was real hot. And I'm meeting with her like literally down to my I've been already had all my clothes taken except for my, you know, cheap, super thin boxers. And I'm seeing like the hottest woman only hot chick I've seen in years, having a face figure. And I just pour my heart out. I have this whole like heart to heart thing and tell her like, listen, I'm here for self-defense. Like, we're not all criminals in here, like blah, 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 blah. But I'm just like, she didn't even look. I knew it was there. I pretended it wasn't. And anyways, I poured my heart out, the whole thing. She ended up letting me out, right? And then I got in trouble. I went back to court, so I had to like leave the prison, Pelican Bay, and after that whole thing, and I came back, and they tried to send me back to the shoe kitchen after she had already like released me from the shoe kitchen and let me off for trouble for that whole thing. And they tried to send me back, and I told them I'm not going back. And so I remembered her name, and I wrote her a letter through the jail mail. I was like to Lieutenant whatever, and it's like they're trying to send me back, blah 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 blah. Like this guy, the guy, and she wrote me back on the jail mail and gave me a pass out of the shoe kitchen permanently. I was like, and so every time they try to make me go to work, because there's one dude that loved to like this is like the worst job in the whole place is the shoe kitchen. He'd try to make me come out, and I'd just always show up with the lieutenant's note. There's only 4 lieutenants in the whole prison, and he couldn't say shit. He fucking hated it. And then I ended up eventually, the guy who was the tutor ended up getting out, and then I became the GED tutor in Pelican Bay. So I was like the GED tutor in Pelican Bay. I did that till I got out. Shout out to my homie Carlos, El Salvador, my best student. And then after I got out, my first job was my grandfather gave me this old, it was like a 92 purple Saturn. It was like my one big break when I got out. My grandpa gave me this little purple Saturn, and I got a job delivering Chinese food. This is before GPS, so like I delivered Chinese food in my purple Saturn with a map book. Like you'd have to look up the address, go to the back, flip to the index, find the coordinates in the page, go back to the other thing, find the spot on the address, and then you would write your own directions, you know, right, left, right, left, 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 right, fucking style directions to go deliver Chinese food. So I did that, and this was during the Great Recession. This is in 2009. Nobody had jobs. They were like, it was like impossible to get a job, but I got a job right away delivering Chinese food. And then I was having trouble getting jobs. I was getting turned down a lot because I was, you know, a felon or whatever. So I started like lying on my applications, and I ended up getting hired at Olive Garden. So I became a server at Olive Garden, and I ended up being like really good at that job. And then so I ended up picking, it was not a lot of, there was no full-time jobs back then. So I got 2 more jobs at Chili's and Applebee's. So I worked at Olive Garden, Chili's, and Applebee's all at the same time. And then I also would wake up in the morning and I would work off my rent as well on the ranch that I was living on. I had a little house on a horse ranch, and I would have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would muck 16 stalls and feed all the horses and hook whatever ones were going to get worked that day up to the hot walker. And that's how I paid my rent. So I worked 4 jobs. Shoveling shit every morning, Applebee's, Olive Garden, and Chili's. And the Chili's was in a totally different city. And then I got my first scene for kink And I did 4 scenes, like 1 per month, for the last 4 months that I was there, until my landlord wanted me to move because one of the girls that kept horses at his ranch wanted to rent my place, and she had like 12 more horses or something that she wanted to move to his ranch. So he was going to get to rent the place out to her, plus rent 12 more stalls. So it was kind of like, he was like, I'll give you 90 days to move, though. And I was like, and I'm just, I had just done my first 4 scenes, and I was just like, So anyways, I was like, it's cool. I'll be gone by this weekend. So I had a garage sale, nobody came. And so like there was this big family next door. They were like the only people that had showed up to my garage sale, because it was like out in the country, and I told them to come back on Sunday. Well, they came back on Sunday, and I was like, I'll make you a deal. You can have everything. I was like, it's all free. Like, but you can't leave anything. You have to clean this place out as if I was never here. They were like, really? I was like, yeah. So they went back. It was this big Mexican family. So they went back, and I got like, I don't know how many people came, but they probably came back with like 12 people, and 3 truckloads in their lowrider, and they were out of there. I had 1 bag of clothes. I had already traded out the Saturn I had a 94 Ford Tempo at this point. Threw a bag of clothes and a foam mat in my trunk of the Tempo, and I just beelined it. I spent the night in Los Osos, and then went the rest of the way to LA, and a few days later I was doing my first scene. So that was all my jobs. Frankita says, are your eyes hazel or green? Just wondering. And that's, as silly as you might have thought of a question that is, it's actually an interesting answer. I don't know if you can see it. On here, I don't know if the definition is good enough, but there's a picture on my Instagram. My eyes are neither hazel nor green. I have a eye condition called central heterochromatic eyes. I think I said that right. Central heterochromia, which means that my eyes are both green and brown. Well, it can come in different colors. Like my father's are blue and brown. He has the same, which is a really interesting thing, because it's like it's the most rare eye color, even more rare than having 2 separate colored eyes, but it's also a dominant gene. So like me, my sister, and my father all have it, and so does my nephew. But somehow it's still extremely rare. So I'm pretty sure that means that almost everybody that has this eye condition has a common ancestor. So that's the answer to that question. Thank you, Maya, about the hairs thing. My hair was actually, I felt that my hair wasn't doing that good today, but it's all right. I'm going to survive. I'll survive a bad hair day. Second Wind says, I hope I didn't make you feel mad or anything that asked about San Quentin. I just have issues with society and feel so much happier since I value my animal humanity far, far more than any society. Look, I'm right with you. No, I'm not offended at all or mad or anything. It's I don't even regret that experience, honestly. Like I there's nothing in my life that I really regret because of the completeness that I feel through spirituality. Like there is none of even the most horrible experiences of my life, I would not take myself out of that situation if I had to do it all over again, because I just wouldn't risk even a 0.0001% chance I would miss out a spiritual awakening that I have stumbled upon in the last year. Up until last September, there's probably a lot of things I would have changed in my life. But as of last September, I stand by every fucking thing that's ever happened to me, every bad decision I've ever made. Like, I embrace every drop of pain and suffering that I've ever encountered, because the joy, the ecstasy, the bliss, the absolute peace and gratitude and love above all things that I have experienced since last September is literally so good. Like, I mean, it's like just, you know what I'm saying? Even just the shortest of all, the 7 minutes that kicked all this off, I would not trade all the suffering I ever endured in my entire life for the loss of that 7 minutes. I would not, like, if I could erase all the suffering of my life, but I would also never encounter that 7 minutes that I encountered last September, I would absolutely turn down that deal. Like, that 7 minutes was worth every fucking drop of suffering and then some. Like, I would never fucking risk it. And I'm on the same page with you as far as valuing your, I think that you mean this like I mean it, the animal humanity is, I am on the same page. Like, look, I'm fucking happy living like an animal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look around and I see all this fucking shit that we've created, and there is so little that I see a value. Like, I don't really see a lot. Like, I value travel. I think it's important for us to be able to, like, see our world. You know what I'm saying? I think communication is great. I think it's important for us to be able to talk, even though it's been fucking completely corrupted, and, you know, now you don't know what's real and what's not. But beyond that, like, I don't see anything that's worth what we have to do for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see anything better than eating mushrooms and fucking floating in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Even take away the higher, the most beautiful things like spiritual connection. But just going back to the animal level. Eating things that grow freely from the ground and fucking floating in the fucking water and looking at a nice, beautiful, unobstructed skyline with nothing built on it is the pinnacle. There's nothing fucking better. You know what I'm saying? Throw in some mad passion and lust into that mix. You know what I'm saying? A little sex on the beach with your blue water and your unobstructed skyline. It's like, that is it. That's it. The only thing that gets better than that is God. Feeling God, knowing God, like nothing else. And guess what? They don't have fucking technology to get you closer to God. They have not built anything that helps with that, really. Or if they have, I haven't found it. Maybe there's some temples in India or something, but they built them many, many, many thousands of years ago before we fucked everything up. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm with you. I am so much happier, like, realizing myself for what I actually am and not what society has tried to turn me into and has successfully turned most people into. Just a bunch of slaved up drones. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm not offended. I agree. You couldn't hear who was answering to. Nancy says, I tried to be as polite as I could. I'm not imposing against your will. Yeah, but you just repeat yourself all the time. It's like, I know maybe you think that I don't see everything that people write to me, but I do. Nancy. You know what I mean? Joker says, reminds me when I was young and I worked at Dino's Pizza. Yeah, Dino's Pizza kind of sounds like one of them spots, you know what I'm saying? I totally get it. I get it. It's definitely the Togos. Millie Sanchez, yes, please. Do you, being around the world, share some of the many stories you've been through? Joe Lucas says, alrighty, I gotta get going, but it's been great seeing y'all. Well, good to have you, Joe. I guess you're probably already gone. I'm catching up on the chat. Millie says, yeah, we have those, but we would love to get to know you through your good and bad times, even if it's through books. It's coming. It's coming. Second Wind says, your military story is fascinating. My brother got to become an emancipated minor at 16 from a judge's decision because our dad was so abusive. We all need our freedoms. Yeah, well, at least he got emancipated. The judge, you know what? The judges, most of them are terrible. But there's a couple good. There's some of them. There's some good ones too. There's a couple of good ones that'll do some good. Rakita says, whatever color is beautiful. Mine are gray and brown. I know that condition. Oh, interesting. Maybe we're cousins. Millie Sanchez says, how were you introduced into the industry? Sam, please. But no. Stop it. Dog might have to go out here in a minute. But we'll wrap this up. I just filled out an application to get into the industry, and my first scene was not something I was super into. It was, for kink.com and whatever, but I seen it as a entry into the industry, and that was my plan when I got out. I was planning on doing it, so it worked. So I guess no regrets. But yeah, I just filled out an application. I went down there. I took 3 photos. They were like, okay, it's just full frontal, side shot, and side with a twist. And they're like, hey, if you don't hear from us within 3 months, you can reapply. And I'm like, okay. So I took the photos. I'm driving back across the bridge, and my phone rings. I just left. They're like, are you still here? I was like, well, I'm on the bridge. Like, well, can you come back? I was like, sure. So I turned around, came back across the bridge, and they were like, okay, you start working in 3 days. And they sent me down to get blood drawn and, do my test. And I did my first scene on 4/20/2010, which is an interesting date to do your first scene on. But yeah, they went from, if you hear from us within 3 months to you're hired real quick. Second Wind says, I cleaned horse stalls from 8 years old till 25. Keeps the body strong. That is true. And man, a lot of people don't realize how much horses shit. But they shit a lot. Like, I remember I started a new pile. When I started, you know what I mean? Like, there was like an area that was flat that was going to be the new area for horse shit. And fucking A, by the time I left that place, that pile was huge. It must have fucking moved fucking 8,000 pounds of shit. Just saying. Have I traveled to any beaches to see the bioluminescence? I haven't seen, I've seen it in Puerto Rico, but I haven't seen it, like, apparently, like during, like, more places started getting it, especially like all the oceans started having bioluminescence after COVID, when they stopped having all the people putting their toxic sun repellents in the water and all that. But I did get to see it once in Puerto Rico. But I think it's really cool when it starts happening on I haven't seen it on a beach. I've seen it in a lake or like a lagoon kind of. Do I do head massages? Your hair looks really strong. No, I didn't know. Does that make your hair strong? I didn't know. Second Wind says, I feel the same way about all my pain, suffering, PTSD, all of it. Absolutely the same way. I'm telling you, embrace it. Like, we come for that. Okay? If you can let it break you down. Not that you should, but people do let it break them down. But that's what we came for. This is that place. You know what I'm saying? And you got to learn to thrive here. Once you learn to thrive here, you regain your access out of this dimension. You know what I mean? So but the original you come for the lessons. And the lessons, sadly are often rooted in suffering. I'm so down to start a tribe. Listen, you guys, we actually talked about this last time, and I'll go a bit further into it and tell you that I'm actually serious about starting a tribe. Totally serious about this, but I'm not gonna do all the footwork to make it happen. Do you know what I'm saying? My ideal way to start the tribe would be for everybody to start a tribe. You know what I'm saying? And then I would like to unite the tribes. Do you know what I'm saying? That would be the ideal way. So you guys can all get popping on the tribe creation now. And then, whenever I'm mobilized again, which I'm not right now, we can definitely think about doing something like that. You know what I mean? But it's hard, I would love to encourage all you guys, but you got to realize, like, there's a learning curve to this whole thing, and I'm more than happy to game you all up on how to do this. But, the initial, like, I haven't even, it's been a whole year of this now. I've been doing this for a year now. Next month, it'll be a year. Or in September, it'll be a year. So over 10 months, I've been doing this. And I'm still not totally free. I got to get rid of these storages. So I understand, like, I don't know if the tribe can come together overnight, but I'm showing you guys the way. I'm showing you I'm trying to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And sadly, I'm not walking it as fast as I would like to. That's why I still got these storages. But I am doing it. And that's kind of like, that's the opening phase of starting the tribe. You know what I'm saying? Because it's got to be a nomad tribe. It's the only way. That being said, I caught up on the chat, you guys. It's been a couple hours. I think this was a good stream. It was it's a good one for the people who are not so interested in spirituality, which I think we lose a lot of my fan base behind that one, but obviously it's the most important thing, so that's our main focus. But it was good to have a little bit of getting to know Bruce for all of his imperfections, moments that we got to all have together. And everybody who's actually really super interested in the tribe idea, definitely holler at me on Telegram and the DMs. Like, I'm more than willing to advise, but the first step, you guys, is the step that I am currently in myself, and that's empty the cup. All right, you gotta come with an empty cup. So, you know, right now my cup has 3 storages inside of it, but I'm working on emptying my cup. So y'all get busy. I don't know what you got in your cup, but you know what I mean. Make it happen. Anyways, much love, everybody. Wiggs, I'm glad you made it. If anyone didn't see the whole story, that was a pretty good one. It was probably super entertaining for people who are more interested in, I guess, I can't even really call it mundane, but my background as a renegade. And that's that. All right, you guys, I'm signing off. I'll see you on Friday, all right? If you can, try to come up with some good thought-provoking questions between now and then, because this Friday is like my main, I have the most traffic on my page on Fridays, and that should be the stream that finally pushes me over the thing, so that I can finally apply and see if I get to stay on YouTube or not. Anyways, all right, guys. Peace.